Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. This is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and I'm incredibly excited to be joined with a repeat guest, Nicolas DiDomizio, a nice Irish name. I probably joked about
Yeah.
that on the first episode, so maybe I should find another joke. It's because my father always says that with Italian names growing
Yeah.
up in Jersey. Um, and some people never get that humor, but that's
Right.
another story for those outside of the Northeast. Um, so Nicholas, I'll read just his quick background. He holds a bachelor's degree from Western Connecticut State University, a master's from NYU. His debut novel, Burn It All Down, which James Patterson actually blurbed about it and has a review on the cover, was published in 2021. Unforgettable is what James Patterson says. Uh, Nicholas lives in upstate New York with his partner, Greg, and their Smooshy, I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Bulldog Rocco. Um, so also your partner's name is spelled very interesting. It's Graig.
Yeah, it's very it gets misspelled all the time. People either think he's Craig or they go with Greg, but yeah, Graig, named after Greg Nettles from the New York Yankees back in the day when he was born. So
I wish I could say I knew who that is, but I'm not even gonna pretend. Uh, I'm only a sports Phillies fan when they make it to the Super Bowl. Then I become like this. Something takes over my spirit, Nick,
Oh yeah.
and I become this diehard Eagles fan. It's
Yeah.
just they have to make it to the end for me. Um, so it's so wonderful having you back. I loved having you on. It was about a year ago. I feel like it was the fallish. I'm trying to remember, but burn it
Maybe
all down. Yeah.
it was great. I'm so happy to be back.
Yeah. And we really got a lot out of you about Vogue and Anna Wintour and the email she sent you. I actually applied to Condé Nast for a few editor positions and thought of you.
Oh
And
my
one
God.
of them actually was going to be like under her.
Uh
And yeah, I'm wondering if the universe saved me or
yeah.
actually if I should apply again for that kind of job. I don't know. I respect her a lot with interviews.
Oh,
Um,
I mean, it's definitely an intense culture, as we discussed.
Yeah, I don't think it's relaxed. I don't think I would be waking up and it would to get grounded every day would be it's a process.
Yeah, you
But
hold
she has a vision. I
absolutely.
will. He knows the vision. So Anna, if you're listening, come on the podcast.
Yeah,
Maybe that will be
in,
distanced enough.
in,
But Nicholas, the gay best friend, your new release. I mean, I am wearing my Kiss Me Bro shirt just in honor. And I feel like the Barbie movie, your novel, Pink is our theme this summer. It's back again.
yes, it has been such a pink summer. I'm obsessed with the cover. I love the pink sky, everything. Yeah, I'm obsessed. I'm
Yes,
gonna miss.
well, and you have it behind you, which is so nicely displayed. Um, yeah, your publicist should be very happy with how you've displayed all your books. Uh,
Very sudden. Yeah.
well, I also was going to like start to buy all these pink workout clothes now. I'm just obsessed. So someone has to stop me. Um,
Oh
but
boy.
keep going. Okay. So the gay best friend, I mean, my first question is just how did this come to you, this idea, even the title? Is that where it all started for you?
You know what's crazy? The title was actually the last thing. I had written it under a different title and it had sold to the publisher under a different title, and they changed it at the very end. But I love the title because it there couldn't be a more perfect title because the book is about the gay best friend of this couple that's getting married. And the idea really came to me. I knew I wanted to write like a beach read, something in my home state of Connecticut and on like the shoreline, light, breezy, like Ellen Hilderbrand vibes is what I was going for. But then in terms of coming up with the actual story, uh, I first thought of the wedding thing, and then I was just trying to pick like my own experiences and see what could might lend itself to that setting. And so then I started thinking about weddings that I've been in as the best man. and bachelor parties that I've been to and bachelorette parties that I've been to as like, the gay guy who gets invited to the bachelorette. And yeah, in like the summer in 2014, I went through this with two weddings where like my really close friends were getting married and I went to the bachelor party, and then like was later at the bachelorette party with all the wives and girlfriends of the groomsmen who I was just at the bachelor party with, and they're like grilling me about like what happened at the bachelor party. No one talks about it, and it was just like such a form of tension that has always been funny to me. And so yeah, once I like settled on that theme, I was like, all right, this is the idea for the book. I'm gonna take a character, throw him into that exact scenario, and let things get messy.
Yeah. Well, and this isn't the first time actually on the podcast that I've had a summer read, which we can get into that concept, but I do think there's something to the spectacle and beauty of a beach read. Like, people will joke, oh, you could read Victor Hugo's Les Miserables on the beach. And I'm like, you could. And
Yeah,
I'm a huge classic reader. I mean, I'm not going to do my PhD a disservice. I love all the classics, but am I
literature.
really going to lug Les Mis to the beach? I mean, there's something to that beauty of just, oh, I'm opening up what's a summer read, or it's going to take me into that scenery.
Yeah, completely. Especially like if you're literally on the beach and you want something like that's not going to require too much, you know, um analysis or any, like just a fun, entertaining, like watching a, streaming show or something. And also, if you're not at the beach, I love, like, I remember when I used to live in the city, like, I would read Ellen Hilderbrand novels and just like get swept away into like Nantucket, where all of her books are set, and like just the
Mhm.
details and just like that feeling of like mentally, like, okay, I can't go, I'm not going to the Hamptons this weekend. I'm nowhere near the beach, but at least I can experience it vicariously through, these messy rich people on Nantucket. So yeah, I can't, like, it's my favorite genre, if you could call it a genre. But
Well, and we had Celia Lasky, her novel "So Happy for You." I'm not sure if you've read it, Nick, but
I've heard of it.
it's
Good
okay.
thing. You recommend it? It's a wedding themed book, right?
Well, yeah, there's these two, um one character, she's queer and she goes to the bachelorette party, but it's a psychological thriller. So I'm not gonna like spoil it
Yeah,
all, but I did interview her about it, and there's so much to it's similar, you know, as an entryway into your novel, but different
right.
in the sense that there's only this very women's gender studies professor going to this bachelorette party almost as an anthropological mission, and she's going to study it. And then things just go awry, but not in a raucous sense, in a just psychological breakdown. So it's kind of
Right.
I remember saying to Celia, it was like Ruth Ware, but with the queer twist.
Love that. I mean, I love a good thriller too, especially now, like with spooky season approaching. Um, but yeah, anytime you throw like a queer person in the middle of like a very traditional, like heterosexual scenario, I find that interesting. Always, just because we have such a different perspective and a different experience from like the majority of the straight population, that some of the themes that come up are just extremely interesting. And even when I was writing this, like stuff came up that I didn't even intend to talk about, but it just kind of, you know, from that scenario, it surfaced.
Yeah, well, and do you know that Scream 7 is actually going to be, for the first time ever, directed by a gay? It's directed by a gay director.
Oh, interesting. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Writing has always been very gay. Um,
The writing, yes. Well, and I always wanted a gay character in the opening phone call scene, but I
oh,
feel that it easily can go into the scary movie territory where like you get the phone call and then he's like, "Oh, you're in a costume? You have a mask?
right.
Oh, okay, let's do this kink." And
Yeah, right.
I
That
mean, I'm not sure if that's how it's gonna go. I mean, maybe they could set the opening of Scream at a gay bachelor party. If the
I,
director's listening, it could
they
be.
have done wedding stuff in any Scream movie yet, so it's due.
Yeah, I mean, they should approach you, the gay best friend meets Scream merger. Um, you, Celia Lasky, get everyone, Bathhouse, PJ Vernon. Let's just get you all on the team. Uh, but what I just love with the GBF, the gay best friend, as an acronym, I mean, I was always thinking of in my mind somehow it goes to Roald Dahl's BFG, but very different
Yeah.
friend. Um, that the gay best friend, how did you even, right, before you brought up that in 2014 you've had the Bachelor, Bachelorette experience, like this is where the novel draws from your own personal life.
Yeah.
Um, but did you have straight friends of yours say, "Oh yeah, Nick, he's my gay best friend. Like he is this token emblem that I'm wearing."
You know, it I never it's never been that direct for sure. Like I've always been the only gay person in my friend group just by the nature of growing up in the 90s and early 2000s. And I don't know, I feel like there's obviously more out people nowadays, but almost like there's more gay people now somehow. I don't know. But certainly when I like growing up, like all, I'm still friends with a lot of people that I grew up with in middle school and high school and stuff. And like I just noticed like during my 20s, early 30s, when all of this traditional marriage stuff started happening and we did all these like gendered parties, I thought it was like the first time I thought of myself as the gay best friend. It's almost like I started tokenizing myself because I was like, I'm not fitting in like the same way all my other friends are. Like and it's also like, things are very different with like guy friends, like especially when you grew up together and you were in the closet for so long and they think they knew who you were. And then you just like, I came out in college and I just like I became a totally different person basically. Um, so that was definitely probably weird for some people. And I definitely like drifted apart from some guy friends and, later came back as adults. And so I wanted to like explore that dynamic, how your friendship can change when one person, comes out. And then with female friends, it was kind of, you know, this totally opposite thing where they're like thrilled when you come out of the closet. And then it's like, oh my God, I have like a gay friend who like we can, check out guys together and like, do all the stereotypical gay things. So I think when I started getting invited to bachelorette parties, that was where I really started thinking about the gay best friend stereotype and how it's like the only like it's like when you're the only guy at a bachelorette party, you definitely feel uh you notice it a little. Like I've had like certainly the parties in my real life were a lot more fun than the parties in the book. Like I never got into that level of drama. Like, once you like are drinking with your closest friends, you're gonna have a great time. But it was interesting noticing who expected me to be loyal and where they thought like the guys, there have been guys who like would expect me to keep things from their girlfriends or something, and then the girlfriends are like, well, obviously you're going to tell me everything he does at the bachelor party, like and so I really wanted to explore that and in a way that was fun and beachy. But yeah, in terms of literally being tokenized, and I think I did it to myself more than anyone did it to me,
Yeah,
strangely.
it sounds as if this is an internalized
Yeah.
gay best friend analysis that you put yourself through, Nick. I was very adamant to myself when I came on this recording. I'm not going to psychoanalyze Nick. I'm not going to try to do what I did with Burn It All Down, like try to find the Italian gay boy trigger touch points. And again, we get this gay boy Dom who really is going through a lot at the beginning. He has a breakup, he was about to get married, and then the shit just hits the fan. And I'm like, okay. So it's almost like, we ended Burn It All Down. We're at that precipice in the beginning, and then we now are thrown into his world with Patrick and going to Mystic, Connecticut, the beach house.
Yeah.
Very waspy, but he's Italian, and I just find what you do with Italian culture so fascinating because, well, I'm sure you know, but do you know what the number one state is of Italian Americans?
I mean, it's gotta be either New York or New Jersey, right? No.
No, that's what surprised me is it was Connecticut and then
I
it was New York, New Jersey, and then New York.
That's so funny. I mean, I having lived in all of the tri-state area at one point or another, that doesn't surprise me. Because yeah, my family came to Connecticut in the 50s from Italy, and I mean, there was a ton. Even like growing up in the 90s, like in Hartford, Connecticut, we had like such a vibrant like Little Italy. Like Franklin Avenue was like the kind of the main street of it all. And I just remember like at the older I got, like they just started moving away to the suburbs, and now like there's like no Italians like in the city, but I guess they're still throughout Connecticut, just in other areas. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean with this book, it was very much like, okay, when you because like, you know, like I've had friendships like Dom and Patrick where, you know, the friend is, I mean, like I remember going to like this one friend's house for sleepovers, very similar to the Mystic house. It wasn't in Mystic, but it was in like it was on the Connecticut River, and it had like the long hill down to the private beach, and it was just like massive. And like had like a single mom in like a, you know, apartment, and I would always like feel, you know, envy and trying to like emulate him and stuff. And so I wanted to put that dynamic into it, and then like throw being gay on top of it. And so like I definitely wanted to explore all of that in this book. As we've seen in other like friendship rom-coms like Bridesmaids or like Something Borrowed, where,
Mhm.
you know, you have like the friend who's kind of like the, you know, the ugly one compared to like the charmed best friend who's getting married, and you know, you're trying to like navigate everything and where do you fit in amongst that. So yeah, that was definitely something I wanted to do with this book for sure.
Yeah, and someone who breaks down at a chocolate fountain and then kicks the cookie over. That's my favorite scene with Kristen Wiig. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. I know people always mention the like food poisoning, but no,
Yeah.
it's when she just is completely losing it. And then there's that little girl who's cracking up and just is so excited that someone
Yeah.
finally has lost all social etiquette. But
Right. She
yeah, I
says,
mean, yeah.
yeah, love that.
No, no, wait, what did she say, Nick?
When she's breaking down at the fountain, and she's like, why did she buy her what kind of woman buys another woman a trip to France? Lesbians. Like that was just an iconic delivery.
And you could see like the friend group kind of shake their head in agreement, but no one wants to say anything. Oh God, that movie. Okay. But it is interesting though. We do have that Bridesmaids. And then I guess Bachelor movies, we would have The Hangover. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I was gonna say Magic Mike, but I mean, I guess it is a Bachelor movie in a way. But we really haven't had a I mean, there has been the gay best friend in TV and movies, but I don't really remember a gay bachelor party movie or unless it's on Logo or
Yeah.
like even Queer as Folk plays around with it. Um, but not in a mainstream way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think with the gay best friend trope, it's always he's the gay best friend to a like female main character in a rom-com. And you know, like going back to My Best Friend's Wedding with, you know, Rupert Everett, and there's a million examples we could talk about. But yeah, with this one, I do think it was one thing that I wanted to highlight was like in real life, a lot of times it's the other way around. Like when you grow up, like I'm sure it's different nowadays, but in the 90s, early 2000s, your friends tend to be like other boys, or if you're a girl, they're other girls. So like my friend group until I got to high school, maybe, and started being a little more social, but it was always just other guys. And so when your best friend is another guy, and then like I was saying before, you come out in college, it's like such a weird, it's like such a different experience than like your best friend is a girl and she's like, oh my God, I love it, you're gay, we can be, you know, whatever. With
Mm.
men, it's, or in my experience, it's been a little different. So I did want to explore that angle of being the gay best friend where, you know, it's not like your guy friend is going to tokenize you in the same way, but there is a, you know, it's, even if everything does stay the same, you have the most supportive best friend ever and he's like, dude, it's cool, whatever, the dynamic of the relationship is going to change at least a little, like, because, you know, you no longer have that common ground.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, you know, I didn't want to get too deep with it in the book, but I definitely wanted to at least represent like that experience that I think so many of us have had in, like, especially as millennials.
Well, and you so humanize that experience. I mean, I was even thinking as I'm reading your book, which, as Nick knows, or anyone on my social media, I've had so many gay men reach out to me about your book in such a positive way. They're like sending me screenshots, not of like your book in inappropriate places.
Right.
Well, I don't guess how you define inappropriate. Because I post photos of myself reading in like Speedos, jock straps. Well,
Well, it
haven't
is a
done that as much. Yeah, but it's like as I've journeyed with your book all over the beaches of Jersey and Long Island, it's just so interesting thinking about my high school experience, Nick. I mean, you're 90s to 2000s. I'm, late 2000s to the like 2014 is when I graduated as an undergrad.
oh, okay.
So, like, but I do still remember when I came out as a freshman, I had a lot of guy friends from middle school, and then um I don't want to say they dropped me, but it definitely shifted the dynamic. I wasn't really again around a lot of guys as really close friends until I was on the track team. But even then, I mean, I was always out in high school, so it's a little different because the
Right.
guys always knew.
Yeah.
But there was definitely like the guys who I could tell were very open, or like it- they especially on the track team, I think there was more of that team spirit. So it was
Mm.
never a topic of conversation, but I was definitely muted. Like my personality was muted. Like when I was with my friend, I'll shout her out, Carly Stein, and we were comparing our stickers from the tanning salon in Jersey. Like this is a true Jersey moment. We would like put cherry stickers on our stomach
Oh
and you
my.
would see your tan line.
Oh yeah, the
I know.
Playboy line. I feel like a lot of people had that.
Oh yeah. But again, everyone out there, that's not a PSA to tan. I know it's harmful. I told Nick I stopped that years ago. I do tan outside, but I use protection. Um, but it is interesting how that openness, or even when I was though coming out, there were examples of the gay best friend. There was even that's when I discovered Degrassi started to have more gay characters,
Oh
the next generation.
yeah.
Um, there was Queer as Folk had already come out, and I found it on YouTube. Um, and I think though, what you show in your novel that I think is so important is Dom reconnecting with Patrick, and
Yeah.
that there's been years that have gone by in a way where they had lost connection, but there was still he was brought back to Patrick because of Patrick's wife, or future wife,
Right.
fiance, um, Kate. So I think that that's an interesting dynamic. Like there was some, I don't want to call it falling out, but Patrick had gone into his frat
Yeah.
society and Dom had entered into a different pathway, but they both went to law school. So it's so interesting how that male bonding happens in your novel.
Yeah, and I think their period in basically all of college where they drifted apart and didn't talk was again kind of inspired by real life where, you know, it's like I think certain guy friends, like with Dom in the book, like he just kind of assumed that Patrick would have a bigger issue with it, that because, you know, when you're closeted for an entire friendship until you're 18 years old, you know, there's going to be, especially back in those days, like you're going to be homophobic together. Like you're gonna like just make, it was like no homo was like a very common refrain. Gay was used as like a synonym for like lame or stupid. Like it was just a very homophobic time. And so like, you think about those things and you're like, oh, now I have to tell him that I'm actually gay, which is like the worst thing anybody can be, in our world. So with Dom, it was like he kind of, after he told Patrick, he started drifting away just as like almost a self protection because he didn't want to give Patrick a chance to reject him. And then, Patrick went and joined the frat, and Patrick probably could have been more openly supportive, but he was a little caught off guard by it too. And so they drifted in that way where it wasn't like, it wasn't a dramatic falling out. It's not like Patrick was like homophobic outwardly, but again, it was like Dom kind of did it as a way of like just his own internal shit. And but it's nice because like that, when stuff like that happens, you can reconnect and build anew, which is what they did. But even though there was still a lot of unresolved stuff from their past, which the book gets into. But
Yeah, well, and then you also, what I love is Dom is living though in a world of contemporary culture. So like we have that layer of 2023. Now I actually feel I'm so playful with my straight guy friends that we're now in this moment where I don't want to say they're tokenizing me, but I'm almost tokenizing them. I'm like, oh, I'm your gay friend. Like I get to, judge your fashion, or I mean, I'm not judging fashion, but
right.
like, or oh, you must think it's so unique what it's like when I'm with other guys. Let me pull the I try to be as forward as I can. It's almost not making them uncomfortable,
Right.
but just being so openly honest that I feel we have moved into a different
Oh,
set
totally.
of culture. And I guess that's because of Gen Z, really.
Right. And when you're like out from the jump, it's easier. I think the problems all come from like when you create a version of yourself that is so not who you are, and then you change it up, and then like I think that's where all of their issues come from. But yeah, I do think nowadays, like, straight guys are cool, most of them. If they're not, then they have issues that they need to work on. But yeah, like most people couldn't care less, and some of them are actually quite, love to talk about gay stuff, and they want all the details of gay sex, and it's an interesting dynamic when people are really honest.
Well, and I have some who even want me to take them to Fire Island and they want like this experience. It's what
They want
I
the
they want the what?
the attention. I mean, like some straight guys do
Well,
love shit.
I mean, yes, some want the validation and they like to
Yeah.
know, especially at the gym. I always say, some think that bodybuilders or, men who are just obsessed with working out, which is a good obsession. I mean, I think it depends how, much it's in your consciousness,
Yeah.
but I don't agree at all that they're homophobic. I actually think most bodybuilders I meet and those who are in the fitness community, they're so open because it's really about the physique and the male gaze and them looking at them. They like they like
Yeah.
the looking. Trust me. And I see some things with the clothes that they wear that I am not disappointed in. Okay, so I wanted to ask though, right? It's the gay best friend. It's not the gay best friends. And that's something I find right now, just in my own life, trying to find a really dynamic gay friend community has been a
Mm,
struggle for me. Like I
yeah.
have gay friends, of course. I mean, I'm seeing some of them for beach trips and getting together, but to have like a very large gay friend group, I mean, I've never been to a gay bachelor party. Um, and hopefully I will eventually. But is that an experience that you find it would have just been it totally would have taken you um far afield if you did the gay best friends and if this was a gay bachelor
Oh, right. Like
focus.
gay people
Mhm.
in the past, other than, yeah, I mean, that's probably the experience a lot of younger people have now. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's like I think I just based on the time that I came up, I just kind of like my only introduction to other gay people was like when I started dating. And like my first boyfriend was like really the first gay person that I knew like in real life. And so I mean, like, I definitely, when I went to grad school in New York at NYU, there were obviously, it was the most gay people I've ever been around in my life. And I made some gay friends there. Um, and then like over the years in my career, when I worked at MTV and of course Vogue, tons of gays. So so I definitely have like met and befriended, and I have like a lot of gay acquaintances, I would say. Certainly like on social and everything else. But I don't know, and it's there's something about like the friends you grew up with that and it's probably a very Connecticut thing too, or tri-state area, like but where those are just the closest friendships, and it would have been cool to like have a gay person in the mix of that, and like a gay guy that I've known forever who I could, you know, go to his bachelor party or do something. um so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think more people probably have that experience now, so they don't always feel so othered as Dom feels in the book. But I don't know. I mean, now my partner, um, his brother is gay, so his brother and his partner, like those are two gay people that we see a lot.
Yeah, but it's kind of like once you have a partner that then the friends become centered on who the partner's friends are and like your couple friends. I mean, I'm still single and ready to mingle and flirty and I'm still trying to debate whether I want to be in an open relationship or not, Nick. So, because I'm like,
Oh,
I like being single, and if I start to date, maybe I want to be monogamous and maybe I should just be single. Okay.
right.
So I think though what is really interesting though with what you balance in your book, Nick, is that you get that social class dynamic, right? Like it's not just about Dom being gay, but like you've
Yeah.
already said, he's an outsider, not just for sexuality, he's an outsider for social class. And I mean, even here where I am in Port Jeff, there's a community called Belterre. And I'll drive by like estates that you can't even get to the house because there
Right.
was one listed for 15 million. And I'm like, let me
Oh,
just see what this mansion looks like. And then, of course, I'm so naive. I like drive up and there's a gate and you can't even like see the home that overlooks the sound.
right.
Um, but because I was going to film it for TikTok because
I
everything now is TikTok related
love.
in my mind. Yeah. But I do think though, like even my observations here, um, again, like that's the very uber wealthy. Like that's not the majority of. I mean, the town is upper middle class, but it's not just like Connecticut. I mean, it would be as if you're talking about Greenwich or Westport.
Right.
And I'm sure even Mystic. I don't know. I think I know a little about Mystic because I passed it on the train to Boston, probably.
It's
Um,
fun. I love it, but it's not very wealthy at all. I mean, there's like the Patricks of the Mystic who have like the beautiful waterfront properties, and then like all the locals are just working class, normal people, like Dom, really. But his experience of Mystic was always, as a guest of the richy riches.
So it's more of a summer, like the wealthy come in the summer to their home, their beach houses.
And they winterize, go back to their lives, you know.
Okay, so it's very Jersey Shore, like certain Jersey Shore towns. Stone Harbor even operates like that.
Right, right.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, see, this is a all year town environment here on Long Island where I am. But I think that why I brought up that example is you can have the immense wealth, and when it comes to sexuality, it's not that your sexuality is um a I don't want to say a detriment because that sounds so harsh, but it's not the sexuality that's unique or different. It's more, do you fit in with the etiquette of the town? Like with the social class, the events you go to, the money you spend, even at the spa or doing luxury activities. And I feel like that's what's interesting, even when you bring in Bucky, who is in the PGA tour. He's a golfer, and we get this other added layer of preppiness, and yeah. So how were you balancing that dynamic in your novel?
Um, I again kind of drew from, certain friendships. And when you're like the guest of the the person who has money, it's just such an interesting, like I remember like, parents of that friend I was talking to before, like they like kind of like Patrick's parents, they kind of looked at Dom as like not like a charity case, but you know, we are clearly like hosting this less fortunate person, for the weekend or whatever. And so, of course, Dom, is going to internalize that over the years. And so, the whole friendship dynamic has always been like, Dom just feels second fiddle to his friend. It's almost like, why are you even friends with me? Like, you're like good looking, rich, straight. Like, I'm this like closeted, uh, you know, kid from the other side of the tracks, so to speak. And so I think that is just so ingrained in Dom's identity, like right from the jump as a character, that it informed so much of their dynamic. And then, but what I wanted to do with Bucky, who is Patrick's uh, other best friend that he met in college in the frat, and he is a pro golfer, so he's like a multimillionaire. Um, but I wanted to kind of show that, like, at the beginning, Dom thinks like, oh, Patrick, of course he replaced me with Bucky, this guy who is like more on his level, like a straight, wealthy, preppy frat boy. And but of course, at the bachelor party, not to go too spoilery, but Dom and Bucky get to know each other, and he realizes that like he totally misjudged Bucky, and he didn't know anything about Bucky's childhood, how he grew up. He didn't have the same background as Patrick. He was just had a similar background to Dom, except in the South, and he's very Southern. But and so I wanted to show that, like, have Dom have some kind of realization that, like, you know there can be common ground. It's not just like everybody is just automatically better than you because they have money or whatever. Like that really ultimately means nothing. And even Patrick, I think he, by the end of it, he learns like that obviously Patrick isn't perfect. I mean, his stuff that happens in the book shows that he's not perfect. His relationship with his fiance, but yeah, it was fun to play with those things, because I think with a lot of books in this beach read genre, it's kind of just told from the POV of like the wealthy summer people who have the house on Nantucket or the Jersey Shore or Cape Cod or whatever, and they're just dealing with rich people problems and stuff, and it is what it is. So I wanted to kind of make Dom an outsider, just to kind of comment on it a little bit.
Yeah, I love that your book, there's so many that people could read even after the summer months. I mean, if you're on the West Coast and you're in Southern California, I guess it's always a beach read. Even though I know the water's freezing in California. But if you're in South Florida, you're in Sarasota, that's where I used to go. So that's why I shout out Sarasota. But you know, beach reads, we can extend that concept. If you're in the winter months, draw up a hot bath, read, these summer reads. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking also of Jonathan Parks Ramage's Yes Daddy, that there's also that outsider character there who goes to the Hamptons. And I just find it's so important when it's told that Dom is our entryway in instead of Patrick, which would have been such a different story if we're
Right.
hearing Patrick's voice.
Yeah. Which I love to read that story, but it's nice to have different perspectives. You know.
Yeah, well, and something that I find we definitely, as we're getting to the end, and then we're going to play a fun game. That's
Cool.
just to tease everyone. Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby, the host and director of the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. I hope you're enjoying what you're watching on the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. So to watch the rest of the episode, head to our Patreon. It is patreon.com/. Ivory Tower Boiler Room. That's Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And you can watch the rest of the episode on our $5 a month membership called ITBR Student, or join the ITBR Professor membership. It's only $10 a month. You get access to all of our videos. You get access to both of our book clubs, the Ivory Tower Boiler Room and the True Crime and Academia book club. Plus, you unlock all of our other episodes. So at the ITBR Student, you only get access to our weekly interviews and the True Crime and Academia episodes. For $10 a month, you get access to our ITBR rewatches, our Teaches series, and True Crime and Academia rewatches and Teaches series, plus the book clubs. Okay, can't wait to see you all on Patreon. And just a reminder, I also offer consultation services. It is $30 for your initial consultation. You get a 1 hour private Zoom with me, and I will help you whether you want to create your own podcast and or media brand, you want to navigate academia as an undergrad or grad student, you need help with technology as it relates to teaching or media. Do you want to expand your social media presence as an artist, writer, podcaster, or academic, or even crafting your public humanities identity? I will help you with my consultation services. You can also find that on Patreon as well. Okay. Thank you all for watching and for supporting the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Bye.